Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. In an earlier video today, I mentioned about the waiting times at hospitals. It was part of Hamza's speech yesterday, and I said there that I'd be doing a video on it today, and I would because I'd already pulled that story out. You see, because I knew the two were linked. See what I mean? We plan these things, you know. It's not an accident. Anyway, here's that video. We're going to talk about the crisis in A&E, how lives are at risk and how it is only going to get far worse. More people will die as a result of deliberate SNP policy. Here goes. So Hamza Yousaf warned Scotland's A&E waiting time crisis is putting lives on the line. Almost 1,000 patients spent more than 12 hours waiting in A&E in the week ending October the 8th. Leading to more avoidable deaths on the SNP's watch. They know about that. They're underfunding the NHS. It's deliberate. They're making these choices. People are dying. And yet it is quite easily solvable. That problem can be solved for, relatively speaking, very little money. In the grand scheme of things, it's much easier to solve than anyone realises. Because you need what? Say one doctor and 3 nurses. How much are you paying a doctor? 70,000 a year. Nurses, let's say 30,000 a year each to make the numbers easy. So 3 nurses, 90,000. A doctor at 70, 160,000 a year salary, right? Let's say per set, a doctor and 3 nurses, £160,000 a year. You've got what? How many hospitals in Scotland? 100 hospitals, something like that. So 100, what do we say? 160,000. So 10 million, 16 million pounds. There you go. 16 million pounds. Now, okay, that's one shift. You need 2 shifts. You won't need them at 3 o'clock in the morning, but the 2 day shifts, the morning and afternoon day shifts, right? 2 shifts. So 16, let's call it 32 million pounds. Sounds like a lot of money. And if it was coming out of your back pocket, yes, it would. But for £32 million, which relatively speaking is very little, you could do that. You could fund that and you could have your waiting hours down. It would make those figures tumble. Now, where are you going to find 32 million pounds a year? Well, I can find it like that. They're currently spending £8 million a month on spin doctors. 4 months and you've just paid for 100 doctors and 300 nurses for an entire year. What would you rather have? Spin doctors or real doctors? Especially when you're sitting in A&E for 12 hours. Anyway, the SNP government has been urged to take urgent action to deal with the ongoing crisis in Scotland's accident and emergency departments. New figures showed that 1 in 3 patients are still waiting more than 4 hours. Now, 4 hours is the target time. It's what they have to do. And if it's over 4 hours, they have to report it. So a third of all patients are failing to meet the target time. The SNP are overseeing pain and struggling. And of course, if you get seen by a doctor quicker, you're out of there quicker, you're attended to quicker, your pain eases, but also there's fewer complications, which in itself means you're getting fewer people going back to hospital at a later date. It eases the throughput later on. It's not difficult to see this. And for what? For the sake of 4 months' payment of spin doctors. I mean, you've got to look at where you're pissing money away on things that are not needed. And these spin doctors are there to make the SNP look good. What would make the SNP look good is if the target times were met by having extra doctors and nurses. Why do these people not understand this? Almost 25,500 people attended casualty in the week ending October the 8th, with 7,520 waiting more than 4 hours. That's 7,520 too many. Of those, 2,619 spent more than 8 hours waiting, and nearly 1,000 spent more than 12 hours waiting in A&E. That is not just wrong, it is unacceptable. Scottish Labour has warned there are lives on the line as a result of the crisis in A&E. Scotland's casualty departments have been under immense strain for more than 2 years now, but the SNP's half-hearted attempts to address these issues have repeatedly fallen flat because they'd rather spend the money on spin doctors than real ones, because real doctors just get on and do their job, whereas spin doctors get on and make the SNP look good. Well, I've got news for you, mate. It's far too late for that. You've been caught out. You look awful, and it's getting worse because you're not even raising the funding this year in line with inflation. So in real term cuts, the SNP, in real terms, the SNP are facing cuts. The Royal College of Emergency Medicine has repeatedly warned that long A&E waits can cost lives. We know this. Studies have shown that there is one extra death for every 72 patients that spend 8 to 12 hours waiting. And the RCEM has warned that long waiting times can have catastrophic consequences for patient safety and mortality. Nobody likes to wait, but you accept that there are these nurses. I've been in hospital, and I've been treated very well. I will not have a word against it. And the staff work their asses off. When you wait, you're not waiting because the staff are sitting around chit-chatting, having a break. You watch them. They're running around. They're constantly on the move. They are treating people. They are working hard. No one will say anything against the staff. But there's just not enough staff. And morale is low and stress is high. And it leads to illness amongst staff, which makes the problem even worse. It exacerbates an already bad situation. And nobody wants to grasp this nettle and actually put in, like I say, what is relatively a very small amount of money to fix it. Anyway, Jackie Bailey is saying, the chaos in A&E is forcing patients to suffer, leaving staff exhausted and putting lives on the line. Services have been stuck in constant crisis for years now, but the SNP's half-hearted attempts to deal with the problem have failed miserably. And after years of turmoil, Humza Yousaf seems to have finally woken up to the crisis he created as Health Secretary. But we need a real sense of strategy and urgency to rebuild services and ensure today's pledge isn't yet another broken SNP promise, which it will be, because they're not capable of pulling through on anything they say, because they don't want to get rid of their spin doctors. They still need the spin doctors to make them look good. Well, okay, keep the spin doctors, fire some of them, and use the savings to hire some bloody doctors and nurses and bring your waiting times down. Scottish Liberal Democrat leader and health spokesman Alex Cole-Hamilton called for an urgent inquiry into the hundreds of avoidable deaths linked to emergency care crisis, all of whom can be laid at the door of the SNP, a staff burnout prevention strategy, and a health and social care staff assembly. He said, seeing these sorts of waiting times at this point in the autumn is a grim warning for the winter ahead. NHS staff are working flat out to try and get people the care they need, but they simply don't have the beds, safe staffing and resources they need. This is true. I mean, it's bad now. And this is what I say. How bad is it going to get in another month, 2 months or so, when there's snow on the ground, old people slip over, break hips, they're in hospital beds for weeks, car accidents, all sorts of things. Winter, dark nights, all that, late mornings. It goes up exponentially in winter as opposed to summer, and yet they're breaking point now. They're probably beyond breaking point now, and Humza Yousaf and the SNP won't put the money in because they'd rather waste it on spin doctors and private detectives, remember that one, rather than where it's actually needed, which is treating patients. We're all going to end up a patient one day. Here's a little thought. I'm 56, which means the doctor that's going to look after me when I'm an old man and in a hospital is being born about now. Isn't that weird? Anyway, getting back, they need to change their priorities, put the money where it's needed, and get rid of all these spin doctors and all the crap they don't need to spend money on. Stop wasting it and look after patients. The NHS is in a mess under the SNP, and it's only getting worse, and I'm coming up. So of course it is the question of, will he follow through? He's announcing that he's going to put some money in. He's announcing he's putting money into the NHS, but whether he actually does is a different matter, because you know what the SNP are like. They announce a lot of things that then get quietly dropped or changed or altered, or you don't get quite what you think you're going to get. You know, you get told one thing and it turns out to be something quite different. Or they use money that they've already put in and claim that's the new money that you're getting, and things like that. They're a very shady bunch, the SNP, so you don't believe a word of it until you see it going in. But, you know, the pledge is there. Let's hope they follow through. But even if the money is there and they can help this out without, you know, firing the spin doctors and saving that £8 million a month, they must still fire the spin doctors and save £8 million a month. Plough that back in somewhere else where it's needed. Mental health. That's a very underfunded one. You know, there's the social care. For heaven's sake, social care. When these people out there, when they get released from hospital, often need a lot of sort of medical looking in at home with the district nursing and things like that. There's a lot of places you could spend money far better than giving it to a bunch of spin doctor wankers. Anyway, I shall stop there. We shall see. We shall see if he does follow through. Anyway, till next time, stay safe, stay well. Try not to go to hospital and be careful out there. I hear there is a huge storm on its way, Benita or Bundy or Bindi or something. And it's supposed to be a pretty bad one. So everyone take care. I don't want to see you in hospital. Bye.